Welcome to my Mysterious Universe channel. In mid-September 1986, geologists searching for oil fields on the border of Udmurtia and Kirov oblast accidentally found themselves in a village where, to their surprise, they did not find a single inhabitant. But there was smoke coming out of the chimneys, and in the forest, in a huge clearing, there were traces of 4 circles more than 1.5 meters in diameter. Along the perimeter of the circles were burnt trees. Here is what one of the geologists of that expedition, Nikolai said. Empty village. The first thing that caught our attention was the smoke that wafted over the forest. Knowing this region from the map, we were sure that we would not find any people, much less shelter there. My comrade Victor and I ran towards the smoke, wanting to know what could be burning there. It was late autumn, and a fire was out of the question. A nasty little rain was drizzling for the 3rd day. We found the place at once, a small street with 10 log cabins on either side. We did not notice anything strange, except that the gate to the courtyards was arranged unusually. The lower edge was 1.5 meters above the ground. Victor also joked that maybe people made these gates in the winter, when there was a lot of snow, and now the snow had melted, and now there was an open passageway under the gates. Or maybe it was made for the cattle not to open the gate unnecessarily. But neither mooing of cows nor barking of dogs was heard. There were no signs with numbers on the houses. The huts all looked alike, like twins. The windows were covered with shutters. My comrade and I went into the hut. It was set up not as a usual peasant hut, with porches and right through the front door and into the upper room. There was a stove in the middle of the huge room, 2 beds and a cupboard with wooden utensils. There are no icons on the wall, no photographs and no clocks. Only a huge bare skin with a grinning face lay on the earthen floor. We opened the stove. There was no firewood, but some kind of coal or metal in it was red hot. The house was hot, and Victor and I were shivering from the cold. Silence, and no signs of life. We looked into the barn, no one there. It is the same in other huts. Only at the end of the 2nd street, I do not remember, in the 6th house I think we saw something, from which my friend settled down on the floor, though he had seen many things in his life and believed neither in a devil nor in God. A glade of scorched grass. At the threshold lay a huge bare skin, just like in the other huts. Next to it, on the floor, was an old man with a long white beard. It was impossible to know how long he had been lying there and when he had died. We lifted him up and carefully carried him to the bed. The body was absolutely cold and seemed quite weightless, skin and bones. We went out into the yard, began to look for a shovel. It was necessary to bury the man, not to stay him lying like that. Then Victor told us that we should find a cemetery. Maybe there the secret of this village will be revealed. We just started to look for paths leading from the village, and one of them led us into the woods. Here it was my turn to crouch in surprise. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary meadow, but with scorched grass. But what caught my attention was that the trees around it were charred. In the very center of the clearing, on the scorched ground, there were 4 1.5-meter circles, the soil of which looked as if it had been pressed through by something very heavy. There seemed to have been huge poles standing there before. There was no smell of burning, and no sign of beasts or birds. Silence. Only the rain keeps drizzling. The wonders continue. We didn't find the cemetery. Then Victor suddenly reminded us that we hadn't smoked in 2 hours. We smoked and gasped. Cigarette smoke was coming straight up, as if someone was pulling it. Fucking place. We forgot about the cemetery and the dents in the ground. I wish we could hurry back to the village, bury the old man properly, and get back to the camp with the boys. When we returned, we found neither the old man nor the hide. Once again we went around all the houses and barns. The same coals, or maybe the iron is shining in the stove, smoke piled over the huts, and no one to be seen, and the bare skins had disappeared somewhere. It was getting dark. We looked at our watches. Both mine and my friends were the same. We estimated by time. We wandered about 5 hours. We went out at 6 in the morning, so it must be about 11 or 12 o'clock, so it must be a long way to the evening. And it was dark outside, almost like nighttime. Then my friend decided to take the coal out of the stove with a shovel or whatever was shining. Only the smoke went out. Victor coughed up the smoke, and then fainted several times on the way back. We walked back in silence. We were tired of the road and the weather, and it was scary to remember our adventure. We returned to the camp and decided not to say anything to anybody. If only perhaps we'll be taken for the madman. And then, another surprise. We thought we had been walking for 6 or 7 hours, but it turned out to be 5 days. They were looking for us, then gave up looking for us. They thought we were dead. Painted bears. And since then, Victor began to behave strangely. He quit smoking, and every mention of smoke caused in him fear. Within a year, he had lost weight and now weighed about 40 kilograms, and he was 6 feet tall. He practically stopped talking. Then suddenly he had a hobby. He began to draw. Day and night he painted and drew. He depicted some fantastic blue bears with their paws stretched to the sky, with yellow-orange light shining over them. Victor drew many such pictures, but each was an exact copy of the first one. And 5 years after that, when we stumbled upon the cursed village, Victor unexpectedly asked his wife and 2 twin children, who were born to them a year after our return from the expedition, and threw himself out the window. Apparently, the pebble he took out of the stove had some effect on him. I drank a lot after that. I still couldn't forget the smoke over the empty huts and the 4 circles that had been pressed into the ground. I don't draw pictures, but I have a strange habit of leaving home on a full moon and wandering round town. Like my friend, I had twins, 2 girls. They started talking at 1 and 2 months, and they are 3 years ahead of their peers in development. Their only favorite activity is drawing. They draw bear-like figures with their paws stretched up to the sky, just like my friend Victor drew. A lot is written about anomalous zones these days, but I've never heard of such a strange place. I was seriously interested in the history of that region. Recently I've read about its inhabitants, that in 30 to 40 years of extra century they went to woods, burned fires, and worshipped the mother bear. But what is this village, and most interestingly, why time flows in it not quite normally? I still do not understand. That's the end of my story. If you like this video, don't forget to rate it, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell. For me, your activity is the best reward. Thanks for your attention. See you soon.